Yeah, thanks. So we have already heard a lot of great stories about AI today. And you know, there's one funny thing about AI. So obviously, it never gets tired, but it also never had to survive a client call at 7 a.m. after a media storm. So no, it's not replacing our consultants and experts yet, at least not yet. But what it is doing, it is fundamentally changing the way how we work. And it enables us to redefine and rethink about what intelligence in media intelligence actually means. And this is what the next 20 plus minutes will be about. A couple of words about me, but it's not important actually. I'm head of product at UNICEPTA. Actually, since this week. Before that, I was leading our analytics and insights department at UNICEPTA, and I'm in our industry for more than 10 years, had leadership roles at some competitors from UNICEPTA, and yeah, with UNICEPTA now since April 21. So what will we focus about today? So I want to tell you a real story, how the implementation of LLM-driven media analysis really worked at UNICEPTA, walk you through from concept to reality, what prompting means actually for our approach. It's a change project, so it has huge implication of how we work, changes the overall processes within our organization. And also I want to highlight that we not just changed a small part of the process, but actually led the foundation of what's next in terms of how AI will evolve. So let's look at a starting position. So from the macro picture, you guys all know we are in a situation of geopolitical unrest. We have digital transformation. We see audience fragmentation in media consumption. We just have a new player arriving who is influencing reputations as AI itself, as we learned earlier in other sessions. And on the other hand, of course, there's the data flood coming, which we all know. It's exponentially growing, the amount of data out there. And we really sit together last year also with the situation at UNICEPTA and thought, okay, what do we need to do? What is key for our clients in the future? Is it about providing the next 30 dashboards? Is it about building the next 20 tools they need to use? And actually we said, no, a time like this actually requires a reduction of complexity, focus, data. So it was really about how can we make our data accessible, available, and bring it to a stage where it really helps our clients to act in those uncertain environments. Good thing is, when you're a bit later today, a lot of important stuff has already made clear and explained. So when we are talking about AI, it's used as a generic buzzword, right? But AI is not AI. AI has a lot of facets, a lot of differentiations. If you look here at the evolution of AI, we started 20 years ago, around about more than 20 years ago, with simple algorithms, which were actually pretty cool, however, not really smart. Then we had the, let's call it traditional machine learning for simplicity, where we started to train models and kind of applied rules to the models and then got outputs. Actually, the middle part is where a lot of solutions in our industry are built on. It's the backbone, kind of. And then 3 years ago, roundabout, when ChatGPT released the first 3.5 models, kind of, I would say AI became a general purpose technology, accessible for everyone. I mean, 2.5 billion requests are running on ChatGPT every day, so it's definitely a general purpose technology now. And at UNICEPTA, we sat together early 2024 and looked at our setup. So we had a lot of human coding. You know, we are really thinking about it's important for our clients to build bespoke solutions reflecting their current needs, their analytical questions. So we are really thinking about it's about providing individual solutions. This was mainly reflected in human coding. And of course, we also had AI coding systems built on those traditional machine learning layers. Both had their advantages, both had their disadvantages. So at the end of the day, you always needed to make a compromise. Human coding, super flexible, quality, very good, at least that's what we think, and also allowed for a very depth level of coding. However, it was slow, it was expensive, so not really the great answer for the data flood coming, right? And then we had the AI coding built on those trained models, which was super fast, cheap, important for client budgets, but also had shortfalls in terms of quality, in terms of depth. So you really needed to stick to more or less narrow standards. You can't train the models on 500 different rep dimensions or something like that. And actually the reputation dimension part was where we really thought. So we were about to applying, training our model on global reputation dimensions, decided on 10, but we sit together and say, hey guys, we can apply this to one client, maybe two, but a third will kind of not fit into the system, and then we need to adjust. So why don't we see that we can leverage those AI developments, bring it into our systems, combine it with our legacy systems, and build actually a powerful new tool that can bring us and our clients forward. So very important. I mean, we are doing media analysis, media monitoring for more than 30 years. So everything we build must stick to a robust methodology, for instance. So before building anything, we decided it is clear that, for instance, we must stick to AMEC standards. We must make sure that analytical key parameters are kind of guaranteed, like consistency in the results, objectivity, reliability, plausibility, of course. And so let's assume you're running a question 100 times in ChatGPT. It's quite likely that you will get a lot of different answers, right? And we wanted to make sure that we get consistent answers. So we run extensive tests, more than 100,000 documents on different client data from different areas, and the results were really astonishing, actually. I mean, we were quite optimistic when building it, but we were surprised how good the results actually were. So we had almost consistent results. We kind of eliminated hallucinations, which is absolutely key. And therefore, at the beginning of, at the mid of 24, we decided that we are going to build this solution. So here, it's very simplified, actually. It looks much more detailed and complex when I look at it with our developers, but it's for better understanding here for you guys. So you see we have actually two core elements. The one is the prompt management system. I will elaborate a bit more on that later. And the other is the content analyzer. And when building this, it's really important to understand that we are not just simply throwing data into LLMs. We have key proprietary own AI elements, kind of we developed, like the machine learning parts we already have. Those ensure, for instance, that we eliminate hallucinations, that we can increase, for instance, improve the entity extraction or do quality checks. And then we have, whenever we need, a modular approach to bring in external LLM capabilities to leverage the power of those models. All is stored in a centralized data warehouse. It's a hybrid solution, so every data can, from clients requested, or we see that on some variables in the data schema we have lower performance from the AI, can be humanly validated. And then it's stored in a centralized data warehouse. And then the left part, it's really important. This is kind of connected to what I said about reduction complexity. It's an open interface approach, so we can bring our data everywhere our clients need it. So if they say we need the data in Microsoft Copilot, here you have it in Copilot. Or if you say the client needs the data in their own BI dashboards, we just push it over there. It's in our dashboards. We can bring it to our monitoring product, so actually everywhere. This is really key when I talk about reducing complexity. It means having the relevant data wherever you need it, and this is the key part of the solution. So I'm always saying about there is kind of a mantra out there in our industry, almost, at least it was at our company, where it's always kind of thought that automation or AI means automation means cheaper but less quality. And for us, it was really important that we understand that we need to overcome this mantra. Actually, on our point of view, AI means enablement, enhancing our solution, foster our solution. And that's what it's really about. I'm now showing you two client examples, for instance. This one is from a financial institution, the other from a European institution, and it shows the power. We heard it in Maya's presentation earlier. Those models are really, really good in everything related to key message analysis, topic extraction, sentiment analysis. And you see also the flexibility. Left-hand side, we have a traditional, I would say, 4-point scale, tonality scale, and on the right-hand side, you see that we have a 100-point scale tonality measurement approach. And it works really, really good, really impressive, and very powerful. Same for social media. We can run social media through it. We can apply new analytical capabilities, so it's not just to replicate what we did in the past, but also to enhance the services. For instance, we can run emotional analysis with the system. We can extract narratives, and so on. So it really empowers us. And at the right-hand side, you can also see that we can easily push the data into media reviews, or can even see it on article level. The data is processed in real time, so that means it's available whenever needed and at any time for our clients. So all nice and shiny. Of course, it has a lot of advantages. I'm always telling we have three types of. We have the functional benefits, we have the strategical benefits, and we have the transformational ones. Strategic, functional benefits, of course, we kind of overcome the compromises, the trade-off we need to make with human coding and AI coding. We kind of combine both worlds, get rid of the limitations, and benefit from the advantages, actually. Of course, it's scalable, it's fast. Accuracy levels are significantly higher than the legacy machine learning approaches. For instance, we have this is really important, strategical benefits. So we get rid of the static taxonomies. This is also something Maya mentioned earlier. So we can really use the system to dynamically detect entities, topics, and so on. We can even reverse it and ask the machine, highlight me emerging topics out there, or highlight me all entities you find within the data. And this really helps us to kind of get rid of limitations we had beforehand, because with search terms, you kind of can just apply what you already know. So it's really hard to identify what you don't know. And when we are able to reverse the taxonomies, we can identify entities, players, topics, which you are not even aware of. But of course, there are also limitations. For instance, they have some cognitive limitations, LLMs. You need to find the very right balance between overgeneralization and too much complexity. If you are too specific in topics, if you apply, let's say, reputation dimension, main topic, subtopic, 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 it just gets confused. Data is messy. You can't do nothing with it. If you are too generalizing the questions or the prompts, it's also worthless. So it's really about finding the right balance. Also, LLMs, even though one might think, don't know the world. That's really important. Yes, they don't know real life events. For instance, a good example, every 1st of April, you can be sure that there are some April Fools coded wrongly in the data, so you need to adjust them. Also for social media, where there's not a lot of context available, sometimes they really struggle to identify the real meaning, struggle with irony, sarcasm, and so on. And of course, there's also the responsibility thing, right? Even though we implemented all those solutions, it's really important that the human is really, at the end of the day, at the driver's seat, accountability. So it's not about that's just AI applying the results or defining the outputs. It's really about accountability from the human teams. So how to manage it? The system, we saw the AI part, we saw the prompt part. The prompt part is really the heart and mind of everything. If the prompt is not good, the outputs are not good. So the AI is just processing at the end of the day what's applied within the prompt. So prompt engineering has really become a key part in our daily work. And that's a change management part too, right? Because most of the time, if the data is not wrong, you just get a reflex and say, AI is not doing good. But at the end of the day, it's just about, no, check the prompt. Maybe there is an example missing, maybe it's too superficial, and so on. So this is really a key part to understand that the prompt determines the output. Actually, the prompt is the conversation with the AI, telling the AI what it should do. So our prompt management system, as I said, is the very heart and brain of the solution. It's a guided system where you can define all key analysis parameters. We build a global data schema. The data schema kind of is connected to the prompt. It's also not I would not call it a basic prompt. The prompt is more than 11 pages, actually. But it's important to understand that the length of the prompt doesn't necessarily determine the quality of the prompt, right? So think about it as a global data schema. For every variable, you can decide modularly, do I need it, do I not need it? I can activate it, I can just skip it, and then the prompt is ingested into the system and runs it. We can even decide on the depth of the analysis. We can run it on article level. We can say we want it on entity level. You can even compare article level with entity level, so you can see what's my overall topic environment, what's my company environment in this topic. So it really applies a lot of flexibility and power to the system. So As I said, it's really changing the way we work. It's not just a small step. It's not just about automating analysis. It's really about changing how we think, how we work, how we deal with data. And we also heard a topic about governance, and governance is really key. Without strong governance, AI usage is just an experiment, right? There is no trust, there are no rules, there is no clear rules you can also tell to your clients about how is this designed, how is this built, can you kind of reproduce the results? So everything needs to be documented in terms of prompt management. Accountability is a very important part. There are new roles emerging, right? Like prompt engineers. It needs to be clear where are they located in the organization, what are their responsibilities, and so on. Then we have the topic of validation and feedback loops. So as I said, it's a hybrid system. So it's continuously validated if the patterns are right, if the data is right. If not, it's going back to the prompts, it's adjusting the prompts. But also this needs to be properly documented and managed by dedicated roles. And of course, there's the point of data integrity, right? Clients need to be aware if it shifts to such a system. We need to make sure copyright rules are applied. We need to make sure everything stays in a closed loop environment. So this is really important. This is a closed system. We are not sharing any data with third-party providers or so, or third-party tools. So this was really also, or is actually, because we are still implementing everything, it's really also a change management process. And one might think, wow, super fast now in terms of providing analysis, and also accuracy is significantly higher than with legacy system. However, when you deploy this, it's changing the way how people work in their daily life. So you have a change management project, and you need clear responsibility. You need to assign clear change leadership roles. For instance, we build our own change task force, which is kind of leading the implementation of the system. There are conflicts. You have new players here, prompt engineers. Normally, everything related to such systems would run through IT. But there you have your traditional developers, and now some prompt engineers are popping up and telling them how to do it. That's conflict potential, and actually results in a lot of conflict. But also here, it's really important, and I urge you, if you implement something like this, conflict is not bad, actually. It really helps to iterate, to even enhance the solution, foster it. So conflict was a key part of the process, but it really helped actually to improve the solution for us. What we also learned, prompt engineers, you can't go out there search for them, right? I can't say I need someone with 10 years of experience. This topic is around for 3 years, right? So there is not much experience out there. So skills over knowledge, that's really important to understand. And what I learned, I mean, I led a couple of transformational projects actually in the past. There is always already a champion within your organization. You just need to find them, push them, and kind of help them to evolve, grow, and push your solution. And of course, there are other parts which are really key in the change position. You need to apply new roles, responsibilities. There's a lot of fuss and also messiness when applying something like that. So it's not clear who is responsible. How is the task force, for our instance, now going to be implemented in the overall organization? Who is owning the prompt engineering and so on? But that's normal. That's part of it. Accept it. Be clear in communication, and then I think it's really important that you just start. So what's next? Here we have the wave again. So as I said, it's about reducing complexity, and we think that data is a key element. Actually, your surfboard when you want to ride the wave. It's not about drowning in the wave. There's a wave, super, let's surf on it. And we think that with the solution, the data solution we built, we kind of laid a foundation for everything in the future we want to build. For instance, of course, we can push the data already into AI assistants. As I said, I see it actually as a new stakeholder emerging with AI. It's starting to shape reputation, influence reputation, so you need to think about it ideally as a stakeholder. And then, of course, we have the future. We talked about agents, yes, but we will kind of develop also in a future where we have kind of agentic systems which will act on their own. And here also we think our data foundation our data solution laid a foundation. And here, yes, just quick, a bit of impressive stuff. No, we are a partner of Microsoft also. This was announced earlier this year. We will launch our Copilot in a couple of weeks, where our data, for instance, is also accessible directly in Microsoft environment. What's really important, I told this solution is kind of a context-aware solution, so we are going to leverage it for also legacy systems in alerting or monitoring. Think about getting rid of keyword-based alerting. This would be pretty nice, because we all know that the keywords actually often just trigger when a search term is hit, and then you get some buzz in your inbox, and at the end of the day, you never read it because you are just flooded. And we want to leverage the alerting capability, the analysis capabilities of the contextual awareness also to our monitoring and analysis services. And of course, I also said the AI assistants and agent systems. So what is the future for us about? It's not about building, as I said, the next dashboards, the next tools. It's really about building intelligent systems that enable us to actually predict and act before we ask, to find the unknown. And our ACA pipeline, that's the internal wording. It's not that creative. It's automated content analysis. However, I think provides the smartness to do that. So this was the main part. I also have a quick prompt tip for everyone. It's also related to the topic of how can I get rid of hallucinations? Quite often, actually, hallucinations are triggered by how you prompt and which model you use. So, for instance, if you go into ChatGPT 5, I guess most of you assume, oh, this is one ChatGPT 5 model. It's not. There are hundreds of models, actually. And of course, if you just ask a simple question, it's most likely that it connects you to a simple chat version with no internet connection. And if you ask the question, where you then want to have the sources in the second question, it just is not able to access it anymore, and then you get a hallucination. So it's kind of, again, the prompt who defines the output. But if you go into the solution of the question and the request for the sources directly in the prompt, it's forced to run it directly, and ideally you go with ChatGPT thinking if it's an more complex question. So tip is ask for the answer and the sources in one prompt, and pick the right model. And there's one final tip. If it's not working at all, just threaten to pull the plug. This always works. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Martin. We have time for one question before the break, I think. Amrita Sidhu's hand went up shockingly fast, so we will give her the question.
Hello? That was really great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to pick up on that piece you mentioned around change management. If you had to give us just one tip from your perspective on how to navigate that change management piece, what would that be?
Set a North Star, actually. Clear deadlines by when you want to deploy it, because the biggest and the worst mistake actually one can make, on my point of view, is allowing another period of time, then pushing it the next 3 months. Then it kind of also sends the message to the teams that you are unsecure about it. You're not really convinced about it, right? If you say, no, we are doing this in 6 weeks, 6 weeks is a bit fast, but 6 months or something like that, and this is our clear deadline, this really helps. This is one key tip I would provide, yeah.
Great. Thank you for the question. Thank you again for the great presentation, Martin. Another round of applause for Martin.